Imagine 3 straight days stuck indoors because of rain. Annoying, right? But you've still got a roof, heat, a stocked fridge, and a phone to kill the boredom. Now take all of that away. No roof, no walls, no dry clothes, no stored food, no waterproof jacket. Just you, standing in a forest in prehistoric Europe 60,000 years ago in the middle of a rainy stretch that refuses to let up for weeks. The air sits right at the edge of what your body can handle. Every single thing you need, fire, food, warmth, gets harder to get the longer the rain continues. This wasn't a survival challenge. This was Tuesday. For most of human history, this was simply what being alive meant. We love talking about the dramatic threats our ancestors faced. Predators, migrations, conflict. Rain rarely makes the list. Yet it may have been the most constant and dangerous force they dealt with. It smothered fires. It spoiled food. It soaked shelters. It brought hypothermia. And it lasted for months at a time. Somehow, early humans didn't just endure it. They built entire ways of life around it, pushing into some of the wettest, harshest regions on Earth. So how did they actually pull this off? The real danger isn't drowning. It's heat loss. Water pulls heat from your body roughly 25 times faster than air. That single fact explains why hypothermia is so deadly in wet weather, even when it's nowhere near freezing. You don't need snow or ice, a light breeze, soaked clothing, and a temperature around 10 degrees Celsius is enough. That's an average spring evening in Europe. Ancient humans learned this the hard way, through loss, not lecture. And it meant the number one survival skill wasn't hunting or foraging, it was keeping the body's core temperature stable. Fire as infrastructure, not an event. Lighting a fire from nothing, using wet materials, with bare hands, is brutally difficult. So instead of starting fires on demand, early humans treated fire the way we treat electricity today, as something you maintain, not something you switch on when needed. They carried embers wrapped in slow-burning material like damp moss or specific barks, keeping them alive for hours of travel. Groups across the globe, from the Inuit to Aboriginal Australians, developed their own versions of this technique. Some archaeological hearths in Europe show signs of being kept burning continuously for years. In many groups, tending the fire during storms became an actual job. Not hunting, not gathering, just sitting there, shielding the flame, feeding it, making sure nobody woke up in the cold and dark. This may be one of the earliest specialized roles in human history. Shelter. Smarter than the caveman stereotype? Caves get all the attention because they preserve evidence well, but most early humans built their own shelters, and did it with real engineering instinct. Structures dating back roughly 400,000 years show branches deliberately angled to shed water and layered leaves arranged like overlapping shingles. The same logic behind a modern roof, invented independently by hominins with smaller brains than ours. Later shelters got even more advanced. Structures built from mammoth bones in Eastern Europe, dated to around 15,000 years ago, were anchored against wind and wrapped in hides with layers built in for insulation. These weren't places to hide. They were purpose-built environments designed to trap heat and block moisture, turning animal skin into rain armor. One of the biggest breakthroughs was leather. Properly treated hides, scraped, stretched, and cured with fat or smoke, become flexible, warm, and largely waterproof. Making this required serious forward planning. Kill an animal today, process the hide over several days, and rely on it to protect you weeks later. Evidence of hide-working tools in Africa pushes this technology back at least 120,000 years, possibly further. Staying dry, it turns out, may have driven some of our earliest advanced thinking. Reading the sky and the land. We check a weather app. Ancient humans read the actual environment. The smell in the air before rain, birds flying low, insects swarming, shifting wind, changing cloud texture. These were treated as reliable signals the same way we read traffic lights. Groups likely relocated hours before storms hit, giving themselves time to reach higher ground and build cover. They also understood terrain in ways we've mostly forgotten. Cold, wet air sinks into the low ground, so a slight rise could mean the difference between a dry night and waking up in standing water. Dense tree canopy could block a large share of rainfall entirely. Rock overhangs offered a head start on shelter. The best of these spots were used again and again for generations, visible today in layered ash and artifacts stacked at the same sites over thousands of years. Bodies built for the wet cold. Regular cold exposure changes how the body responds to it. Reduced shock response, different fat distribution, more efficient heat generation. Populations like the Inuit show this clearly, but the underlying adaptation isn't unique to them. It shows up in anyone regularly exposed to cold. Ancient humans weren't tougher because they were built differently. They were tougher because their environment trained them to be. Survival was a group project. Shared body heat, communal sleeping arrangements, divided labor during storms, younger members gathering and maintaining fire, older members guiding decisions on shelter and movement, children kept warm at the center. Knowledge itself, which bark burns slowest, which slope drains fastest, was passed down rather than reinvented, making elders a kind of survival archive. Losing them meant losing irreplaceable know-how, which likely explains why care for older group members shows up early in the archaeological record. Even food adapted to the rain storage of nuts, dried meat, and preserved fish shows real foresight, and when normal food sources vanished underwater or under mud, diets shifted toward what the rain brought out: earthworms, fish pushed by flooding, fungi thriving in the wet. Sharing food equally during lean stretches wasn't kindness for its own sake. It kept the whole group functional. Why they went toward the rain, not away from it. Modern humans gravitate toward mild, dry climates. Ancient humans spread into monsoon regions, rainforests, and flood-prone river deltas. Not despite the rain, but partly because of it. Heavy rainfall means fuller rivers, richer plant growth, more fish, more game. The difficulty was worth the payoff. We now have waterproof jackets, insulated homes, and weather radar, but every bit of that technology traces back to a much older discovery: that water runs downhill, that treated hides repel rain, that huddling close to others keeps you alive until morning. Someone figured all of that out with nothing but attention, memory, and stubbornness, long before any of our modern tools existed. That's not primitive survival. That's the foundation everything else was built on.